Hey there, I'm Mealtime Mentor Lauren, and I'm so excited to be here virtually with Jimmy Callahan from Guinness. Today, Jimmy's going to walk us through a fun way to cook with Guinness, along with other tips and tricks for enjoying Guinness. So before we dive into today's recipe, Jimmy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Guinness?
So I'm Jimmy Callahan. Hi, everybody. I'm one of our Guinness brewery ambassadors. It's an actual real job, and I get to educate people about Guinness and talk to people about the beers and the history and heritage of the brand. Obviously, we come from Ireland, founded in 1759. So we've been around for a long time, but we've got some fun, new, exciting beers as well, and hopefully you can have one for the holidays with us.
Awesome. Yeah, so today diving into our recipe, we have made a Guinness beer cheese soup. So this soup that we have here has lots of great veggies in it. It's got cheese, of course, which we love here in Wisconsin. And then it also has Guinness. So Jimmy, can you talk us through a little bit about why would you cook with beer?
Why would you not cook with beer, Lauren? It's Guinness specifically is a wonderful ingredient to cook with because it touches all the senses on your tongue that you can taste, with one exception. So you get the sweetness from barley, you get the bitterness from hops, you get the umami flavor from the roasted barley, as well as sourness from that acidity from the roasted barley. The only thing missing is salt. So if you add in that nice beer cheese soup with a little bit of sharpness, a little bit of tang, and a little bit of salt, everything that you can taste on your tongue is there. So it's like a party. It's a party right on your tongue.
Party in your mouth. Perfect. So I also want to have you walk us through trying the soup that we made while drinking the beer. But before we get to that, I want you to also talk us through how to pour the perfect Guinness half and half. This is something that we've tried before. It's very difficult, but I'm sure you have a couple tricks for us to how to make this happen. So I have my big Guinness glass here, and I have the fancy spoon.
And you don't need this fancy Guinness spoon. If you have a regular spoon, that's just fine. The reason why we use this spoon is because after we pour the first beer, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, we want to just spread out the Guinness, fan it out over the top so it doesn't hit one point and drive turbulence down to the beer. That will break the surface tension. So you can use any regular spoon. You want to pour on the back side though. So there's two tricks to pouring the perfect Guinness half and half. So I'm going to be using Guinness Blonde here, which is coming out of our Baltimore brewery. If you hadn't had it before, suggest you try it. It's a beautiful beer. What you want to think of is the first trick is that while we call it a half and half, don't think about it as half the height. Think about it as half the volume. So it's actually, if you're pouring into a tulip glass like we are right now, you're actually going to go probably about like 3/4 of the way up because the volume gets a wider opening at the top. So as you pour it, just gently down the side because you want to get too many bubbles in the beer because that's going to, we're not going to get that clean cut between the Guinness and the other beer. But so you're actually going to pour about 3/4 of the way up because the opening at the bottom of the glass is more shallow than the top. Okay, so now we have that beer ready to go, Guinness Blonde. And then when you crack open your Guinness draft in the can, and again, use the can, not the bottle. The bottle is supposed to be drunk straight from the bottle, whereas a can you can pour into a glass. So you're going to pop it open, have your spoon at the ready, and just gently, ever so gently, we're going to pop it open, ever so gently pour it over the spoon so that it just goes over the top of the beer without breaking the surface tension. So it's not going into one spot in the beer, like I said, so it doesn't have that turbulence going in. And if you go slow, you should be okay. So number one trick, you got to pour 3/4 of the way. Number two, slow and steady. And then you can reach all the way to the top of that glass. And when it's all said and done, you should have that nice separation between Guinness on top and the beer in the bottom. This is just a perfect visual example of Guinness is actually not a very heavy beer. People think of it because it's dark as being like really thick and heavy and a meal on a glass, that kind of thing. But in actuality, you're seeing Guinness float on top of another beer right now. It's only 125 calories per 12 ounces. That thickness that people think of is just because we use nitrogen gas in the beer as well. And those nitrogen bubbles are tiny, they don't burst in your tongue, and it gives you the creaminess that Guinness is known for. So cheers, Lauren.
Delicious. Okay, so I had a rookie mistake. I used the bottle instead of the can, so I didn't know that. That is a very helpful tip. We need to use the can.
The reason why we have the can, they're just for different drinking occasions. So ordinarily, you want to drink beer out of a glass because the opening is wider. We taste with our nose. 80% of what you taste is through your olfactory senses. So the wider the opening, the more you can smell, the more you can experience with the beer. So you want to pour it into a glass. But if you're out tailgating, if you're camping, if you're on a backyard barbecue and stuff, and you can't have a glass, then that's when you have the Guinness draft in the bottle, and it's just another way to drink the beer.
Excellent. Good tips. Okay, so we have our beer here. We have our soup. We want to eat and drink them together. How do we do that?
When you're tasting beer, tasting food, what you want to do is, and this goes for wine too and everything, you want to take a sip of the beverage first, and experience that on your tongue. So see what you get. So for example, here.
Oh, it's delicious.
With that half and half, I mean, you're getting the roastiness from the Guinness. You're getting a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of toffee. You get nice bitter sweetness on the back of your tongue, especially with the addition of Guinness Blonde that has like some nice sharp citrus notes. And then what you want to do is take a bite of that soup, take a spoonful of that soup and see how those flavors play. Because sometimes they're going to enhance each other. Sometimes they're going to contrast each other. And sometimes they actually create new flavors. So what do you taste with that soup, Laura?
I feel like the beer comes out a lot more in the soup when I had a sip of the beer first and then took a bite of the soup versus when I've just made this before without drinking the beer first. I couldn't taste the Guinness quite as much in the soup, but wow, it really comes out in the soup. It's delicious.
It's giving your brain a little bit of a hint of what you might be able to pick out. So it's and you can go back and forth, and you might experience different flavors within the course of eating that dish and along with the beer. But beer is actually the best alcoholic beverage to have with food because it touches all of the senses. Whereas wine, there isn't a wine for every single dish in the world, but there is a beer because you can have sour beers, you can have sweet beers, you can have salty beers, you can have any number of different beers. So Wisconsin, you know that the beer is the preferred drink with food.
Oh yeah, we got cheese. You garnish the soup with popcorn, so we've got lots of salt going on, like you'd mentioned earlier, and we have a beer. There really is nothing better.
We're all that happy now.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy, for sharing all your great beer knowledge with us today. You can find this recipe and more recipes from your mealtime mentors at fastfoods.com/meals. Cheers, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Cheers.